Now what we're going to do, we're going to install the Vyos or vyatta, that will be virtual routers, and we're going to create this diagram. It's a little bit messy with all this information, but we're going to install first of all this router with 4 interfaces, and which will have the first interface HTH0, which will be configured as NAT, so it will receive from VirtualBox this IP from DHCP. The second interface will be it will have internal network, and it will be as R1 West. It will have this IP. The second interface or the third interface, HTH2, will have the IP address 10.10.01/30, and the name of the network will be R1, R2, the network in VirtualBox, and the third one will be this one. First, we're going to install and configure this router directly on the VirtualBox, and then with the help of SSH connection, because it will be easier for us to copy the commands that we'll do in the router. Then we'll do an SSH connection here, and we'll configure these 3 interfaces. In the first place, we're going to only to configure this one. I'm going to access my SSH, and then we'll configure the rest. And afterwards, we're going to install these 2 interfaces and make the SSH connection. So in VirtualBox, we're going to create a new virtual machine. The name will be Paul 18. It will be Vyos, and will be R1. The Vyos, I'll show you links and sites where you can follow the information. It's quite well explaining. Will be a type will be a Linux, and the version will be it's done on Debian 64 bits. And this is the first step. Next, they say that you need at least 512 megabytes of RAM. Sometimes it works with less, but this is enough. Next, we'll create a virtual hard disk, VDI, dynamic allocated, but the size, you only need 2 gigs to create this virtual router. So you do create, and now this is the tricky part. Here on settings, you'll go to network, and the first network, according to our logical drawing, will be HT0, so it will be connected to NAT. So we're going to configure as NAT. Second adapter will be internal network, and the name for this internal network, this will be like a VLAN in VirtualBox, will be R1 West. The second adapter will be HTH2, will be also internal network, and the name will be R1 R2. The fourth adapter, or the HT3, will be internal network and will be R1 R3. This is quite important because looking again at the connections, we will use this name for the VirtualBox VLAN communication between routers. So the storage, you will select the Vyos here. You'll Vyos disk, and we are ready to go. I'll put some links here about this. As you can see on the routers, on the information, the password is Vyos, and the user is also Vyos. The version is 1.18, and the configuration I'll show you just in a bit. Let me open this image a little bit bigger so you can have a look. we'll write Vyos and then Vyos as password. Beginning, you just install, you make install image, enter, and then it will be asked if you are installing on this hard drive. You say yes. Then the partition, you can say enter again, it will be auto, and it will be installed on STA, the disk that we have, and we have only to write here yes. So it will create this partition, and in a bit the name of this image will be that one, 1.1.1.8, and this is important. You will write the information to config.put. This is a file where you have the configuration of your Vyos router. The password, now you can enter a different password, and enter will install also the grub, the bootloader, and that it is. You just install it. Now you'll need to do, after installing, you can do is shut down, for instance, and reboot. After doing a reboot, you say yes, and when you are, this is the also a tricky part. When you are rebooting, try to remove the disk from the VirtualBox, or it will restart again. So it will work on KVM, kernel virtualized machines, and let's start. I'll show you in a bit what you have to do. Now, when you log on as the user Vyos, and the password is password. Okay, and right now you are on the Vyos system. You are working over the Linux on the Vyos system. The Vyos system, it's derived from vyatta, that was also applied from the Quagga protocols, an open source protocols that were applied here on the vyatta, and then the Vyos, they were a fork from vyatta, and they are free and open source that you can install and use. So about the commons here, for those who are used to work with Cisco routers, it's almost the same thing. First of all, you are at the prompt and you have $1. It means that you are a normal user, and if you want to know some help, instead of press the question mark, you'll press tab, and tab will give you two possibilities, set and show. So if you choose H, then it will write the word for you, and since show, he has more options. When you press tab again, tabulation key, you'll find out many other options that you can choose. And then, if, for instance, if you want to look as host, so you say quit, and then you write host, and then you press tab, and host has also other options: date, domain, lookup, name. So let's look at name, tab, and look. At the end, you do just enter, and it says the host name is Vyos. Okay, no problem. So let's start configuring. So I can make an SSH section to the router by the CentOS. So to configure, in Cisco, you'll do enable, then conft. Here you'll do configure. If you press Alt the command and then press then on tab, you'll find out that you have configure. When you log in as configure, you see that the prompt is now changed and has a hashtag over there, and it means that you are at the configuration mode, and right now you can configure. I'm going to configure just 3 steps, and then I'll do the other configuration by SSH. So I'll do set interface Ethernet, and the interface that I want to configure is this one, HT1. So I write HT1, and then I'll say address. The address will be 192.168.10.254, and we don't need to write the net mask as we do in Cisco. We just can use the CIDR configuration /24. Right now the keyboard is configured as normal as OS layout. You can change it, but that is also a reason why I'm going to log in as a SSH account. So enter. Now, for a best practice, you can also set the name of the system, and we'll say set system, then host name, and we'll say that it will be R1. And we're going to configure also the SSH protocol, so we'll do set service. The name of the service will be SSH, and we'll say in which port it will be working. On port, normally SSH will work on port 22. Now, these are the 3 commands that we need just from the beginning, and right now, so that the system accepts all these configurations, you have to do the commit command. Commit it, and now the information is it was applied to the router. To have sure that this information stays in the router, in Cisco, generally you do copy running config, startup config. Here you'll do just save, and the information is already saved. Now, this router is now ready for us to log in as an SSH account. So we're going to our CentOS, and this is what we've done. And right now we need to configure the network interface on CentOS. The second adapter, instead of being intnet, will be the name that we give here, R1 West. So R1 West. Okay? Then you say OK. And right now you can, I'm going to make another session here. Right now you can ping 192.168.10.254, and it's pinging. So it means that right now it can reach the router. So we're going to do SSH. The user is Vyos, and the IP address will be 192.168.10.254. Is showing the SSH key and the fingerprint. We say yes, and the password of the user, and right now you are logged in on the router, so you can make our configurations. Before this, let me write class. Today it's 18, right? 19? 18? 18. 5th 2070, and this is Vyos. They are virtualized routers, and you can have information around here. So the web page, it's here, Vyos IO. Let me put this in another format, and this is the wiki. This is a good place where you can go and watch information. Everything that I've been done here is right here on this page. So let me open and write it here so you can check. So on this page, someone is stepping over the cable. Let us check. Oh, it's a little bit slow. but here you will find out. I'm going to close it again and open again and paste again. Well, it's low, so then you have to begin. So first, what you have done was configure interface. It was HT1 interface and SSH and also host name of the router, the R1 router. The commands that we did was this one, configure, sorry, it was configure, then we passed to administrative rights, then we set interfaces, Ethernet, HT1, address, and it was 192.168.10.254/24, and then we did was set system host name R1, and then we did set service SSH port 22, and then we did commit and we save it. Okay, this was the initial configuration that you did on the router. Right now we are, let me save this one, Vyos txt, write it on Windows so you can open it without the oops. Save student okay, so save, and let's not unsave it. File, save as. It's difficult to save this file, right? So Paul 18 Vyos txt and save it. Yay! I know I can save a file. So then what we did was we connected. This is how we connect. But first, note, check if you have connection between SSH client and VOS router. Okay, so and then we did was this. This is check. Okay, so right now we're going to configure the other three interfaces. So what you have to do is configure again, configure, and then we'll configure the interface. Set interfaces Ethernet. We're going to configure the, let me check, this interface here and then this one here. So the H2 address will be 10.0.0.1/30. You can give a description to this interface. So we'll say description, it will be R1 to R2, and right now we can configure HT3, and address will be 10.0.0.10/30, and the description will be R1 to R3. And after we need only the interface, the HT0, that is connected directly to the net, to the one. So will be set interfaces Ethernet HT0, and it will have the IP address of what? DHCP, right? DHCP. That's it. Description from this one will be R11, for instance. Okay? So we'll do a commit. This information is saved. And right now, what we can do is to see some commons inside lists, for instance, the interfaces. What's the command in Cisco that you use to see things? What's the command? It's the show command, right? So you say show interfaces. And right now, you have got here the interfaces that you will work on. But this kind of this type of information can be different if you are running on the user without permissions to make changes on the beginner level. So what you do when you want to run a command before in Cisco, you'll do a do here, you'll do a run and then show interfaces, and right now you see that you have a different interface. We don't have HTTP. Good. You don't have no IP here. Why? Let's check why. It is connected to network settings. Yeah, it's on NOT, but I have no connection. Houston, you have a problem. Let's do the command again. Perhaps I did it wrong. Yeah. Address, yes, it was missing here. Address DHCP. This is my mistake. Commit and then save. Okay. And right now, if you'll do run show interfaces, right now look at the command. Now you have the IP address, the expected IP address. I'm going to copy this information to our document, and here it is. And right now you can check that this is the information for R1. Now I'm going to, since we don't have too much time, I have to finish the live stream here. Next week, Monday, we'll continue the video and we're going to configure the rest of the routers. But we have to finish here, right? Yeah? Okay. So have a nice weekend and see you next week.